Transform your product idea into a business reality. My name is Callie Keene, and this is End Hype. Product manufacturing roadmap secrets. All right. When should an entrepreneur reach out to a product development or manufacturing partner? How much of that prototype or how much of the prototyping should a startup complete? When should we ask for quotes? Should the product and business be vague, kind of flexible, so we can get some better direction? We can get information from experts. Or should the product and the business development be perfectly defined so we get the lasered in, cheapest, best price? We know that where there's ambiguity, there's risk, and where there's risk, there's cost. So should we be highly defined or should we be highly undefined? These are questions that I get really, really often. My background is in product development, in manufacturing, and this is a really common question with physical product entrepreneurs. Even if people have a background in engineering, in one of the main engineering disciplines, doesn't necessarily mean that they have experience in the breadth of product development, which is highly multidisciplinary and involves multiple types of engineering. Also involves some more artistic endeavors and then some more business-related endeavors. So when you look at all of those things combined, it's very common that a person might have one of those skills and the rest of it seems pretty murky. And it's very tempting to go deep into that skill and say, hey, I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm going to design exactly how this whole mechanical system works. I'm going to 3D print as what I can. I'm going to start putting it together, put mock-ups together, start working in CAD, do as much as I can do, and then I'm going to reach out and then I'm going to find and build a team or talk to manufacturers to get costs and things like that. So get lots of questions around roadmap, timeline, costs. Intellectual property is always thrown in there because you don't want to be just pushing out your ideas. And this plagues physical product entrepreneurs. So I'm going to give you my take on this. I'm going to give you a few hacks on this that will shortcut the process. And I'm going to give you some tough love on this as well. So here's the first thing, is very frequently people that I'm working with are looking for some type of funding, right? And that could come from a crowdfunding campaign, like Kickstarter, Indiegogo. It could come from venture capital, from joining an accelerator or just getting investment. It could come from a grant, or it could come from one of those innovation challenges that I keep bugging everybody about. Any of those sources of funding requires a roadmap. Go to Kickstarter. You'll see, hey, if you give me money, in April, we're going to do this. In June, we're going to do this. In July, we're going to do this. And you're going to get your cool thing in November. It almost never really happens according to that plan, but at least they have a plan and it's written down. And you can check in on it and you feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Now, I listed those kind of in order, in a different order where that roadmap should be a little bit more dialed in. Because we know Kickstarter, Indiegogo, it's a little like free and loose, notorious for late deliveries. I think the majority of crowdfunding campaigns are delivered late. But I will tell you that if you get funding from venture capital, it's going to be broken into tranches or little portions of money. And if you don't meet those deadlines, there might not be funding. There might not be funding ever again. So our roadmap really needs to be accurate. And for innovation challenges, the same thing, because we're probably partnering with a large corporation or a government entity. They like things to be clean, crisp, clear. So if we're a business person or we're an engineer with a specific discipline, how do we get that big view, that broad view of everything? And how do we line up like, oh, industrial design. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, let's start with that so we know what it'll look like. Oh, bench benchtop prototyping. Yeah, that's a thing. Okay, let's do that. Looks like prototype. Oh, okay, I understand why I need that. Okay, where does that go? How many prototypes do I need? What's the cost? How long is that going to take? What's my tooling budget? All of those things, it starts to build and overwhelm. And even if you see a sample timeline on some product development company's website, it's a lot to figure out. So before we get down into the weeds, I'm going to give you a hack for this. So through Innovate and through our coaching, we have people, the first thing that we do is we define our customer, right? So we know context. And context is really important for developing a good product because you got to know who's going to use it and how, right? And from knowing who will use it and how they'll use it, we're able to build a requirements document. And that's the input that we need to get this roadmap. It's a product requirement document, right? And this is a living document and it'll change and develop, but it just says, like, think of it like this, is say you have a battery-powered device. A specification would say it needs to be this big of a battery, it needs to be this type of battery. We're not there yet. We just want to say, hey, this device should last 2 hours because that's the length of time somebody is going to be using the product on average. So that's a requirement. Once we have these requirements listed, we have a nice little framework for this. We have a nice little sheet to fill out this product requirement document, or PRD. Once we have that, and even some preliminary sketches, right, we can engage a product development company and we can ask them for proposals. And here is the hack. This is the great hack, because first of all, most likely, if you do get funding, you're going to be employing a company like this. Unless you have a background in product development, you should be looking at, how can I, at least for this first product, work with somebody that has experience to accelerate this process of getting to market. But to know if you're getting a good deal, if this person knows what they're doing, the first step is just to get a proposal. And if I go out and I get 3-4 proposals from different product development companies, what their proposal will look like is a bunch of steps. It'll look like a roadmap, and it'll have costs attached to it. So I can take that information, and once I have 3 or 4 of them, I can compare them, and I can make a best-of-breed version of this roadmap. And you'll be surprised in the similarities, that there'll be some conceptual development, there'll be some engineering development, there will be different types of prototypes at each stage, there'll be certain deliverables that you'll get to become manufacturing ready. And with that, you can build your roadmap. You can put that into your slide deck. You can put that into your business plan, and then that becomes something that you can present and say, we have the best information available. We went with these people. This is what the general consensus looks like. So that's a huge hack, because you could spend a month trying to figure that out, or you could just send some request for information or some request for proposal and get that information from people who are actual experts. And that will start that conversation. It'll start that dialogue that you need to actually go to the next step once you get funding. So very helpful. For some reason, people do not do this. They try to make the roadmap themselves. Then they get funding. Then they talk to a product development company who eviscerates their roadmap and says, no way, that product is going to take 18 months. Here's all the steps. You're totally wrong. And then they can't align the steps that it'll actually take to make the product with the tranches, with the money that's being delivered by venture capital, or by the innovation challenge, or by the grant. And it's very frustrating. So then the product development company or outside contractors have to shoehorn their services into a model that's based on your roadmap. So please don't do that. Let's move on from that first hack. We'll call that proposals reveal the roadmap, right? So if you want to know when you should reach out, I would say as soon as you have a good PRD, start that conversation, right? You can reach out to a partner. And the reason that I like that is because a lot of our obstacles to getting to market involve our ability to communicate our idea, and to build our team. So they're going to ask you a bunch of questions that you can't answer and that you need to figure it out. And like those questions are going to help inform you and help move your business forward as well. So, so on this side of things, let's go in a little different direction. Let's say, like, why are we going to work with a product development company, right? And this seems like it seems like something that people want to avoid. There's some reasons why I don't like this in software, and I do want people to always have a technical person on their team, the person that knows what you're doing, what you're building, knows the status of everything, that can own that product. They can be the project manager, be the product owner, product manager inside your business. But understand this is like, you're going out and you're watching a YouTube video from a successful physical product startup. They've made 1 or 2 successful products. A decent product development company has made hundreds of successful products, right? So it's very difficult for people that run a physical product company to have as much experience with developing products as a company that's what their service is. Does that make sense? So we've developed hundreds and hundreds of products because that's what we do, develop products, manufacture them. But by that, you end up knowing that innovation itself, that product development is a process, and it can be systematized. If you're just approaching this, you're learning as you're making up, you're kind of making it up as you're going, and you're going to be wasting a huge amount of time. You're going to waste a huge amount of money and a huge amount of opportunity. So there is a lot of value in that process. And this is another reason why I say talk to somebody early and build that roadmap as soon as you can, so you know the steps that are involved. Again, it's very tempting to go as deep as you can in whatever domain that you know, and then reach out. But it doesn't get beyond a proof of concept prototype. You really can't get any farther without developing the technology, developing the business, developing the industrial design, developing even the manufacturing in sequence and in parallel, right? In the proper sequence and sometimes in parallel. So let's move to talk about when should you reach out to manufacturers. And this is another thing where I'm biased, right? I grew up in manufacturing, so I'm going to say as early as possible. But here's the real reason that we want to talk to manufacturers early is that manufacturing is a massive, massive discipline, right? It encompasses a lot of engineering. It encompasses a lot of process technology. So if you have a complex product, something that has injection molding, has electronics, it has assembly required, it has parts that need to be stamped or machined, there's many manufacturing processes involved, and it's very difficult, and I would say not super helpful for a physical product entrepreneur to try to become a manufacturing expert, right? You should be conversationally competent, and then you should reach out and have a manufacturing partner or somebody that's what they do. They know manufacturing, right? You need to focus on the business end of it. What do people want? What problems do they have? How are you going to solve those problems? How are you going to market this product? Who are you going to partner with? Things like that. How are you going to build your team? How are you going to build your business processes themselves? And not get hung up on, hey, I'm going to learn how to become a manufacturer. I'm going to learn everything about injection molding, because it's not going to push your business any farther. And somebody that actually does it, if they give you advice, it's probably based on their capabilities. They kind of have to own that decision. And let's just leave this as simple as manufacturers know manufacturing, right? So I can give you a list of all the DFM, design for manufacturing, secrets and tricks, and say, this is how you make sheet metal parts. Great. Okay. This is how you make machined parts. Great. This is how you make injection molded parts. Great. And I could just keep making these, right? But a good manufacturer is going to look at it and say, hey, that shouldn't even be an injection molded part. All right. So that's my take on working with product development companies and when we should reach out. Now let's move this conversation to talk about manufacturers. That's the original question. When should I reach out to get a quote? That's the specific question that I receive over and over again. And really, I have to unpack that question because with such a simple question, my simple answer is as soon as possible, right? Because I want to know costs. But if I unpack it and really look at what somebody's asking, is they're trying to get clarity on their product. How long is it going to take? How much it should cost? And if we reach out early to a good manufacturer, we're going to know a little bit more than just cost. We can get feedback. We can get design for manufacturing feedback. We can get process feedback. See, because here's the thing is manufacturing is a very deep skill set, right? Everything that you see with your eyes has been manufactured through a multitude of processes, right? And there's lots of skill sets that are involved in manufacturing. And physical products, hardware products, are difficult because they in of themselves are multidisciplinary. Lots of different types of manufacturing are involved, and each one of those has their own tricks, right? They have their tricks of the trade, like how to do PCBA, how to do substitutions, or how to look at a bill of materials to know that these parts are going to become obsolete and I shouldn't use them, or this is how to redesign a board so I can take half the cost out. Same thing with a machine part, right? I could give you a guide to say design for manufacturing rules for machining, for sheet metal, for injection molding, but there's so many different processes that are involved. Are you really going to spend that time to become a manufacturing expert, or are you going to reach out to somebody who knows manufacturing? So if I could give one phrase for this is that manufacturers know manufacturing, right? Go reach out to someone that can handle the entire thing, right? And somebody that can do that, they're generally called a contract manufacturer, right? They don't deal with parts. They deal with large projects and they deal with products. So they want to push you towards a turnkey product, like in a box, completely delivered to your warehouse, right? Done. And that type of manufacturer is an expert at coordinating all the different aspects of manufacturing, getting all of the design details done, all the questions out of the various manufacturers and manufacturing disciplines, delivering those to you to see if there's any improvements that can be done, and give you a complete timeline, give you a complete cost roll-up for the entire product. They can often also handle quality control, quality assurance, documentation, assembly documentation, those types of things that are just outside of the view of a normal physical product entrepreneur. You're thinking about like, hey, somebody's going to make this, slap it together, and send it to me, but it can get very, very involved, right? So I would look for that partner. It depends on the type of product, right? If you're just making a simple mechanical machined part and somebody's going to put it in a box and send it to you, yeah, go talk to a machine shop, right? If you're looking at a complex product, match the complexity of your product with the skills and service of that company. It doesn't mean, hey, if I'm going to make a toaster, this company's made 3 other toasters, right? Your product is unique. It'll have its unique challenges. They don't need to be a toaster manufacturer company. That would be kind of cool, but I don't think that that's going to be very accurate or helpful. What you want to see is that they do products of a similar level of complexity, so they're able to handle the inevitable problems that come up. But again, by reaching out to them, they're going to ask you a lot of questions, right? They may say, I need documentation that looks like this. And you say, I don't know what that is. I need to learn what I need to learn just enough so I can interface with these people properly, right? So you probably are going to be looking at a 3D model. There's going to be some kind of annotations about what the product does. If you are deeper into design, you might have some 2D drawings. You might have some dimensioned drawings. That would be fantastic. If you have boards, you can have the design files for it. But sometimes people have very little. They have almost nothing. And the manufacturer can then say, I need these things. And then you can go back and you can look at your roadmap. You can go and hire that product development company. You can go build a team and say, these are the things that I need. So what I really look at is, as we build these relationships, these partnerships, versus just transactions, I don't want to just go to a manufacturer and say, I'm trying to find the cheapest person to make this thing. We're trying to find somebody that can help us with our business. We can build that relationship. They will be giving us expert advice. And when I put that expert advice into my pitch deck, into my business plan, like into my product development roadmap, I can be reasonably assured that the information is correct, at least that it's more correct than if I just guessed, than if you just guessed at what it would be, right? Or painted a pretty picture. And this is why it is absolutely critical, and why I just tell people the short answer when they say, when should I ask for quotes? I say, as soon as possible. As soon as you have something that you can get a quote on, try to get a quote. Right? If you just need a part, go to Xometry, go to Fictive, go to one of those online portals and just buy the part. That's fine. You go to a machine shop, buy the part. If you need quotes on your product, go out as soon as possible. The feedback that you're going to get is what's going to enable you to win the funding, or just align your team so you're not wasting a bunch of time and you can win. So that's our short roadmap answer. So if you're in Innovate, you'll know that roadmap is one of our key little building blocks in our pitch deck, because it's something that people want to know when we're pitching. It's a very critical piece in all of our coaching and product development process, and it's just something that people overlook, right? It's one of those boring things, just like the product requirement document, just like understanding the customer. We want to get super excited about our idea, right? We want to change our lives, make a bunch of money, change the world, improve the planet, whatever we want to do. That big, cool goal that gets us like all excited, that we're all passionate about. We want to do that thing. And then here I am telling you, hey, let's do some paperwork and have some uncomfortable conversations with people that aren't going to be very happy with the level of development of our product, right? Because the uncomfortable thing is where the growth is, right? That's the uncomfortable thing, is the unknowns. And we need to reveal the unknowns so we can eliminate risks, and we can present something that says, hey, man, here's an awesome opportunity. I know these people. They all have this problem. My product solves this problem, and I need you to join my team. I need funding at this level, so in 6 months we can go to market and we're all gonna get paid. So you can have a clear plan. So I know it's hard, right? I know that development part is hard, and that's why we know that that's where the opportunity is. So, guys, if this is helpful, if the End Hype podcast has helped you, helped your business, helped your pitch, please share it. Share it with a friend. That's how we get more people on here. It's just word of mouth, right? That's how I run my businesses. We get our business by word of mouth. We don't have salespeople. It works fantastically. I'd like to keep that up with the podcast, and I like the comments that people are giving me. If you'd like more information on roadmap, if you'd like to see what our roadmap looks like, drop me a line, send me an email, send me a message. I'll get back with you, right? If you want to know more in depth of why it's important, or if it's important for you, or there's something that I said that was confusing, just message me. The way that we come up with these topics is somebody reached out to me just this morning and said, hey, can you do a podcast on how you build a roadmap and when should I ask for a quote? I said, oh, this is super easy because this is the hack that I give all of my coaching clients. And we were saying, I'm an advisor for a startup, and I said, hey, just go out and get some quotes. Quotes are going to have, they're going to have the timeline on it. You get the 3 quotes, you look at it, and you're like, oh, this is done. I spent half an hour doing this thing that I spent the last month worrying about. It's cool. So ask the question, and that's why I'm around. That's why we're doing the podcast. So if you have a question, reach out. I'll make a podcast about it. I can't guarantee that I can jump on a phone and knock it out with you for an hour or two. I've got clients. That's what they pay me to do. But I'd love to make content for it, and if I can answer that question, it'd make me super happy. But my name is Callie Keene. This is Untitled.